Thank you for joining us for our January Power Hour. I'm Tessa. I live in Indiana, joined by Megan Jax, who is out in Phoenix, Arizona. So tonight we are going to do two layouts. You're probably all familiar with the Power Hour. I'm going to start with me. And so if you have any comments, questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them as we go. So switch to my table. Hopefully, see, I don't know, I just never zoomed in now. It looks more zoomed into this when I check it, so like last time, you guys all get to see part of the mess. So what am I working on tonight? So I don't know about you guys. Sometimes I have an idea and then I sit down to actually try to conceptualize it with pictures or papers, and it just does not go where I want it to go. And that is what happened with this one. So about 3 attempts later, I came up with a layout for it tonight. I had some bigger ideas, but I know that Megan does some classes. Sometimes she just uses borders. I did one for my virtual open house. And so when I was putting this together and I found that border, I was like, I would like to use this border on my layout. And so this layout you can use, perhaps you have some big borders that you made, or I'm sorry about the shaking. That is Max the cat who is walking behind my monitor, but at least he's not pushing everything off. Okay. So you can use a big border, or we're talking about you can just use a strip of paper, kind of make your own for this layout. So this is a one page for me. You can easily mirror image it for another one. When I posted this as the demo, I didn't have my pictures on here yet, but because we did have back-to-back snow, there are like one or two places in Indiana that you can actually ski. And so the kids, I think I told you guys, went skiing with their dad in Pennsylvania over after Christmas. They actually did get to ski a little bit. But then because we got back-to-back snowfalls, the boys were able to go ski here. And I begged them, I said, please, will you please take pictures for me so that I have something to do with Flurry of Fun? And then I realized how few skiing embellishments are in the set. Emerson went sledding, but I didn't get any pictures for that. So these are my skiing pictures I got. So then on my birthday was Sunday, and Jonah showed up and he's like, here, I got your birthday present. And he texted me the pictures. I was like, that's all I want. I really want nothing. The pictures are the perfect gift. So when I printed these, so when I do pages for the kids' books, which is this is what this is for, I do not always want a 2-page layout. You guys know the books would be so fat, you'd have so many albums. I just can't. So I really try to keep an event to one page. And so I've talked about before, sometimes I'll print the photos as 4x3s. So I use Project Life app. I dump two 4x6s in a little template and it prints it out as 4x3s. And then I can use our 4x3 peekaboo pockets to get even more of them on the page. So this layout, the demo layout, will have peekaboo up here for these, a peekaboo down here for those, and then I left this one big, the 4x6, and I hid the journaling underneath there. One tip I did want to show you, I know that some of you have the photo trimming templates. We have had several versions along the way, and they can be helpful when you're thinking about cutting down photos. So I did save one of them. I had this photo. I mean, the photos aren't great. They are night shots outdoors, but I was going to leave it 4x6. And then I realized how much extra it is. So this is when it's nice. Sometimes you can use, if you have the trimming templates, to kind of see what you want to trim. Does it fit for what you want? And the answer was yes. And so then I can do it. It is just kind of helps to give you that visual to do it. So don't forget, if you have those, there's been a couple different versions along the way. They are helpful. I use the Project Life app to combine my photos. I save it back to my phone, and then I use the Epson app that is recommended for the Epson PM printer. Or if I'm sending them to Walmart, I just send it to Walmart. It downloads back to my phone as a 4x6 photo, which makes it pretty easy. So I trim that one. This is a 4x3. I have the mat ready right here. And then I have peekaboos to place. The border directions, I put the QR code at the bottom if you want that. It's a pretty basic. This is 2 3/4. Sometimes our border is about 3 inches. So you have some space there. Okay, and then the next layout I'm going to show you has nothing to do with tonight's demo, but sometimes when I go through my papers, and I have pictures and I want to do a layout, but then I come across some of these papers. So you guys recognize this print underneath here with the trees that came in Florida Fun. And I think, well, I want to do a layout with that. But sometimes it's really hard to turn a class out of something that's like a printed paper, right? It's pretty basic, but I love sometimes these basic layouts. So I just wanted to show it off because I did. This is the paper from Flurry Fun. It had all of the trees. Sometimes they can be hard for people to imagine what to do with it. And so I just kept my 4x6s over here. These are 4.5 by 6.5 mats. And then I printed the 4x3s again to fit there. And then this one will be a peekaboo. The picture of the boys originally was this wide stance. I zoomed it in to get the vertical 4x6 you saw in the other layout. So I can put this layout in Jonah's book. So I did this instead of other things I should have been doing. The other thing I wanted to point out right now, we're having that promo. If you buy like $75 from Adhesive Buffet, they're having questions sometimes. The lifter stick came out a couple years ago, and people are like, what do you use the lifter stick for? And it can be good for picking up little things. So like when I had all these snowflakes punched out from the punch and they're on the desk, the lifter stick can pick them up. And then I could decide where I wanted it, put my little dot of precision point, and then I can put this down. And then you can use the other side of it to kind of hold it for a second. Precision point dries pretty fast, but so just a little tip about what that tool even is that's available right now. Okay, so now we'll get to the real layout. What I'm going to make tonight with this one. When I was doing my borders, that border class I did in December, I also made this school border. And so I was trying to figure out how could I make a layout from that. So we're going to talk through my choices. This is a pretty basic layout. So I had to find something to talk about to fill up at least getting close to my 30 minutes. So I didn't let Megan run away with it. Have all the time. So I want to talk about choices a little bit. So if you have borders, I'm sure, how many of you have borders? Do you have a binder of borders? Do you have all these borders, right? We've all made borders. What are you going to do with the layout? So here's my border. I'm like, how can I piece a layout around this? It has like every print in it. It has every color in it. It can be a little overwhelming. And so I decided I've really got to tone it down. This is a busy border and a lot of our borders are. And so I was debating using cardstock, like maybe a green or a blue, but I was thinking about what papers can I use from the directions to put top and bottom. I went through like every print, but it just is too busy. I decided I really needed to use cardstock or tonals or something. And even this green just seemed like too much for me. And then I was like, well, what about the craft color? If you look closely at that print, there is that little bit of brown craft. So my first thought was the crafted. The back of it has these different prints. That would work. And I decided, you know what, it still was maybe a little bit too busy than what I wanted. And I was like, I really probably need to stick with cardstock. So that's when I decided to pull out a sheet of the crafted cardstock that we have currently in the paper buffet. Hopefully you guys have all grabbed this one. We've requested it for so long. So I thought the crafted would give a good neutral base to it. Question about the lifter stick, you can just clean it with water. So just get it wet, rinse it off with warm water, and that will clean it up. And that helps make it sticky. And so then I was like, okay, I need to pull out cardstock. I decided to go with the blue. And then I went through my folder in our Winter Frolic group right now, our challenge group. We've had everyone share an organization tips. A lot of people sharing like how they store their scraps. I keep a folder just like for all my red stuff that ends up being random. And so I did find this paper. Do you guys remember the Perfect Fit Reds? That came out of that pack. And so it has a little bit of a texture to it, but not a pattern. So I cut that 6x9, I'll put it down there. And then I have a 4x8 for the top corner. So for the directions, we're doing a 9x6 mat, adhering it 1/2 inch from the bottom corner, cutting an 8x4, putting it a little bit closer, about 1/4 inch into the top. And then we put our border at about 4 inches. Of course, you can adapt some of this depending on your pictures. Then I thought, well, I dig through, you guys remember these mats or journal boxes that came with a perfect fit? That would fit nicely up there. And then when I pulled out the embellishments, there's a lot of embellishments in the school pack. Kind of gives me a little spot here. I could choose, depending on whatever pictures end up being on this page, would work for this layout. If you need more space here on it gives you about 3 inches tall. If you need it to be wider, you could push everything down. Adapt it to what you will. So in the end, I'm not going to glue this down because I'm going to show you one more option. This is how I would keep my layout. This is probably what you'll see posted tomorrow. Some blue mats. I've pulled that color. I've just stuck with 2 colors, red and blue, right up there. And then if I could find first day of school pics, I'd probably use that one. This kit too had a lot of, if I didn't want to use that journal box, it has a lot of these journal boxes, which would be nice for back to school. And maybe I could find some stickers or something to decorate around it. So pretty basic, right? But it gives me a layout to use for this border. And I really liked how the craft kind of tones it all down. Okay, I did mention on the handout though, one alternative would be to use a frame punch. So I'm going to talk about how to use a frame punch on both of these pieces. So I went ahead and pre-cut. I have the 8x4 and the 6x9, but I just want to do 2 corners. And so when I'm going to start the same way, if you are doing all the way around a frame paper, it has to be even measurements. This is not, it's 6x9, but that's fine because I'm just doing 2 corners of it. So just choose a place to start. When you're using the frame punch, you start out here, not the line in the front. I'm going to punch that and pull it through. And I'm going to go all the way off the edge. That's why it doesn't matter. Put my glasses on, make sure I'm lined up here. It's just going to go off the edge. And the 9 inches actually gives me a full set of the borders. And then to frame the other side, I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, stick this corner in here, and then pull it through. This is going to be a partial because I'm coming off. So that's one of them for this corner. If you are not using cardstock, you will want to pay attention to the direction of your papers and make sure that you're punching the corners that are appropriate to how you want it to sit on the paper. I chose the geometric because it was kind of the simplest, cleanest line frame punch we've had. So come back to my layout. If you don't have a border for this, you can just use a piece of paper, just cut it to 2 3/4 to have a strip across there. So this, I would still push all the way to the edge and I have this in the top corner, and that will give you space to adhere your border along there. And then because I punched in blue, I'd probably want to go find red. I should have punched some white or something. I would have a different color mat than would sit and pop out against the blue. I don't want to cut this because I want to cut the other way. But you can see how the red, you could sit a mat here and then a mat down here and a smaller photo up there. This is going to make doing 4x3s a little bit of a challenge. You don't have as much space without overlapping your design. You could also make these pieces wider if you wanted your design to extend either way. So just a few, this is a pretty basic layout for me tonight, just some ways to use up some of those borders that we already have. This one and cardstock. Once you choose whatever you're choosing, I'm going to adhere a ½ inch towards the bottom. ½ inch from the top corner. Can you see my mat? My mat is not straight. I really need to get a new desk because this desk is not level. And I keep putting my laptop on top of it, which puts off a lot of heat. And then I think it warps my mat to whatever way the table is sitting underneath it. Looking through to see if there's anything else I could put around this. I might have to go find some punches. If I did end up using, there's not really anything to layer with this. I could do some stars or something punched behind there, and then it would play off the enamel stickers. The embossed star is probably the one I would choose. But first I'd have to make sure I actually have photos. And again, if you don't have a border, just cut your paper, a strip of statement paper, 2 3/4 or 3 inches would fit nicely there. So pretty basic tonight, but those are the kind of layouts that I tend to like to do. And I didn't even look at Meggan's to see what we're doing with her tonight, but I gave her extra time. So hopefully she appreciates it. If she's even paying attention. She still has other sheets. Okay. She's like, you're done too fast.
Paying attention. No. Well, you were like done in like 13 minutes. I mean,
This is okay.
it was a little longer than that.
I know. I don't want to cuss on camera, but this girl, sometimes I gotta get stuff done. You just gotta get your
Well,
layouts done and move on.
I really needed more than 13 minutes to clean my scrap room. So just so you know, that's what I usually spend the time that you're working. I am a cleaning. We honestly really need to have a page makers class that you're like talking for a solid 60 to 90 minutes. I can really get a lot done.
Yeah.
So all right. So yeah, so welcome to our January event. And I'm excited to show you guys this one. I will tell you guys that Tess and I were talking about this, and sometimes class feels a little bit like giving birth to a child. Like when you're going into it with a lot of maybe a little bit of anxiety, it's a lot of work. But then when you're all done, you're holding this sweet, sweet layout that you just love, and you're so excited to have it done, and we're spending time with you guys. And we're so excited to do it again. We're like, when are we doing this again? So yeah, that's the labor of love sometimes with putting together classes and everything. So it's always exciting to me when the layout comes together. It starts off with an idea. You're kind of going and you're like, how many times can I cut a piece of paper wrong to get to where I want to go? And so, yeah, it's fun times there. The page makers class, I see Lisa asking about that. We're gonna have to see what Creative Memories is coming out with. They have these playbooks now, guys. That they've done half the work for us. And you guys saw that Tess and I are part of the design team, so there will be opportunities for her and I at various points throughout the year to maybe design one of those playbooks. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera, and if I can, oh wait, I got to press the right buttons. There it is. Okay, so Tessa, here, you can see my layout. See, there we go. You see it? There we go. Very exciting. It's angles. I'm in my angles era. It might last for a while. I don't know. I really it was easy when I was in my deco trimmer era that I can just put the deco trimmer away, like hide it from myself, and then I can't like get it back out and use it. This is a straight trimmer, and it's just really hard for me not to just like turn paper on an angle and start chopping. But I love chevrons. I'm not going to lie about that. And so this one, I use this with the Noteworthy collection. I'm going to be putting together one tonight using the Leave Nothing Behind, which I'm using for the San Diego Safari park. And I will be honest with you, I'm loving it for the safari park. It did help that the safari park is in San Diego in Southern California, and it is kind of out there in that high desert. Or it's not really high desert. It's very deserty brown and just lots of pretty colors there. So here's the handout. You can see we're going to need our base pages. You can use cardstock. You can use a tonal paper. I used a tonal paper. For my layout, my sample tonight, I'm going to be using some of the new craft cardstock that's available. And it's medium craft. I love it. I love that nice medium brown. If we could maybe get one shade darker now. We have beige, which is lighter. We have medium craft. We need one more kind of a light brown and then into our hot fetch. But I'm going to use the medium craft as my base. I need a designer piece of paper that is two-sided. For my sample, that's where I use the Noteworthy paper. So it has kind of this plaid pattern on one side, the opposite side is that rusty red. So you're going to want to have something that's two-sided because we will be using both sides. Now, that being said, you truly could just do this design. If I had wanted to use all of the same pattern facing forward, I could have. We will have, you have some nice space between there so you can still see those chevrons. So the paper I'm going to be using for that is going to be this piece of paper. It's kind of got this sprucey evergreen bush look to it, I guess. And then the opposite side to it is the wood grain. And so when it's on there, it's kind of going to have this nice green element with kind of the browns in there. In addition, you will want to have I say 2 sheets of cardstock. You can mix and match your cardstock. I give you the measurements for the mats, so you can mix and match your mats. 2 of the mats are the same size as the 4.5 by 6.5 large variety mats. So if you want to use those out of your mat pack, this larger one here and over here are that size, and you could use those. I have some designer paper that I'm going to use. I really like this kind of pumpkin-y color with that's the item. So I'm going to use that in here. And then I also do have some hot fudge that I will bring in as well. And then you are going to want to have a border maker system with the coordinating BMC of your choice. And what I mean by coordinating is just something that goes with your photos. In my sample, I use the chevron arrows because it matched the chevrons. But chevrons are kind of generic, so you can really bring in a different pattern. I've already punched some, I can't remember what this one's called. I need to write these down. They're coming out with too many of them. This one, whatever it was in the last secret box that we had.
Diamond link.
And Diamond Link.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't process at all in my Diamond Link as compared to Square Link. Diamond Link, and I just thought it was fun. And so we'll see what we think about it. So you can use a chain style where you're going to punch it out. You could use stickers. You could use laser cut borders. You could use an edge style here. We would just back it with paper to reestablish that edge. Or you can use a knockout style, which is going to remove the pieces, and then you just use a piece of cardstock or paper to back it so you can see the design. Lots of flexibility in how you handle this border. And then, yeah, you're going to need your 13 by 13 cutting mat. I would recommend maybe having a ruler and a pencil, and then your 12-inch trimmer. Okay, so starting with the piece of paper that we are going to, our designer paper, that we are going to ultimately make our chevron pieces from, we need to cut that piece of paper in half. So I'm going to move some things out of the way. I'm going to cut it in half. And I do want to pay a little bit of attention here because I've got a little bit of direction to this kind of looks like logs or rustic wood floors that I need to pay attention to how I want this to come in my paneling or in my chevron. And I think I want to rotate it this direction. So you will see the individual planks in the chevron. The opposite side is non-directional, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to chop this in half at 6 inches. Now what I'll do here is I'm going to fold my paper in half along the short edge. You don't need to, you want to give it a decent, you want to make sure it's nice and folded. Sometimes we can get away with a loose fold, but I think here you're going to want to go ahead and give it that full fold. And you want it, both of them will ultimately need to be folded. So you can go ahead and fold that second piece. I have both pieces that are folded. Now I need to grab my ruler and a pencil, and we're going to use our cutting mat. And on the cutting mat, we have a 30-degree mark. It's right here. There is the line that comes across for the 30 degrees. We're going to take the folded edge of our paper and we're going to line it up on that line. And I want you to come all the way over to this outside solid white line with this corner right there. You're going to bring it all the way out to that edge on the right side of your cutting mat. And you're going to want to make sure you're on that line. Then you're going to grab your ruler. Up here at the top, there's the number 5. So it's 5 inches over from the right. You're going to go ahead, use your ruler, line it up along that 5-inch line. It says 7 at the bottom, but it's, that line. And you're going to mark with your pencil. You can't see it, but it's there. You can kind of see it. It's a little shimmery. I'm going to do the same thing on my other piece. I'm bringing it all the way to that outside edge along that 30-degree line. Grabbing my ruler. And I will mark a line along that 5-inch where I've got my ruler lined up at that 5 inches. I will draw a line along that ruler. Okay, coming back to my first piece. Here's my line. My folded edge is facing towards me. I'm going to put it in my trimmer and I'm going to line that edge up on my cut line. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut it. This piece set off to the side. This piece here, we have established an angle. I'm going to bring it over to 1 inch and line it up. And then I'll cut. I'm going to do this 4 times. I want 4 of these 1-inch chevrons. There's 4, and then I have my leftover piece. All right, so that's one set. I'm going to repeat those same cuts on the second piece. Again, the folded edge is facing towards me. The cut line I have lined up on my cutting mat. So the measurement of the first line, it does not matter. The measurement, we have determined where we're going to cut based on the pencil line that we drew. So you would make sure you're over here on your 30-degree line. You're lined up to this outside corner here. You use your ruler along the 5 inches and you go ahead and you're going to draw that line. Once you have the line drawn, you use the line to determine where you place it in your mat. After you cut this large section off, this right section here, now you're going to move to 1 inch. And it's 1 inch sections that we're going to cut. There is a question for you in chat, Tessa, regarding the measurements of yours. So I've cut off 2 of my strips, 2 1-inch strips. I'm going to cut, there's 3, and I'll cut that 4th one. We're only going to use 3 of these chevrons, but we cut the 4 out because we need the separation. You direct sent that one to me, Tessa. Resend it to everybody. There we go. Okay, I've got my pieces. Now we're going to grab your background. Now, the background piece, I think I have in here before you start attaching anything that you would punch your edges. So this is where you don't have to do that right away. If you want to put your paper on, your pieces of paper and start to get kind of a feel for how things are going to look before you determine what punch for sure. Like, let me lay this out and I'm going to take a peek and decide, do I want to use the diamond link or do I want to use something different? I was going to use animal tracks, but I've used animal tracks a lot already in these layouts for the safari park, and I don't want to be too redundant. I use cyclic circles in another layout for it, but I'm just not sure that it's quite the right vibe with the chevrons. So here's where that kind of going. And the nice thing about the diamonds is I think it's going to work okay. I'll show you my photos. They will need to be matted, but these are my photos. I'm going to be doing some pictures of the condors. I always feel so bad about the birds, man. They're like in a netted thing. I guess they're protected. I know they rescue a lot of them. I still just feel bad for animals at the zoo. And here's some pictures of my husband and Cody looking at some stuff. And everything will be matted. So there's kind of how things are going with this side. Over here, you have a lot of flexibility in how this goes together. I show 2 different directions of the layout, meaning that you have some going vertical and some going horizontal. If if things are not quite looking the way they looked, I probably should have had the caveat in there that if, the first time doing this, if you're not super comfortable, is maybe use some scrap paper. If they don't look anything like it, run with it. Doesn't have to be, they can look a little bit different. Maybe the goal is to have 2 sets that look the same. So if you struggled and if you wanted to try again, maybe don't cut the second section yet. Grab some scrap paper. You could even practice with just some, maybe not the directions, but another piece of just paper and just practice the folds, and the cuts. But you could easily come in and do 2 pieces opposite sides, right? You could have both like this. You could have one going this direction, and then I would maybe have it flip this around so it's going the opposite, so they're both coming in towards the middle. So you've got some flexibility in how you put your pages together. I mean, you ultimately could probably even do everything along the bottom or everything along the top, just depending on what kind of photos you want to use. And I have another square link that's going to go along the top. So if you like what you've decided to use for your borders, you can go ahead and punch those. You'll punch along the edges. or you'll use your other borders. I did not, my sample, I was able to put a 3x4 or 3 by 4.5 inch mat in the middle. These particular ones, what I did is I don't have a mat that necessarily goes with this. I have a small journal mat that I could put in the middle, but I'm not 100% in love with this. This was out of the Leave Nothing Behind. So we'll see. Got some of the bighorn sheep. These, the dimensions on my photos. So these photos are 4x5s and these are 4x6. I do list the dimensions that I use in the sample are listed down at the bottom. And I am not using the 3.5x4s. I am just using the 4x6 and the 4x5s. So I still need to cut my mats. But I think this is going to work out. I think I like the square link. It's got a nice angles and so forth with it. So we'll go with there. All right. Now it's time to go ahead and adhere these pieces on. I recommend that you attach the top and the bottom pieces first, and then we're going to place everything in the middle. One of the things you can do is you can put your piece on here, and sometimes I like to adhere my paper down to my mat. You could definitely do that if you wanted to. I know from putting this other one together, these pieces are 6 inches wide, and I want to have about 1/8 of an inch at the side over here and at the top. So I'm going to bring this outside edge to about 6 1/8. So I could go ahead and grab my T-square and bring it over to that 6 1/8 and make sure that I line that outside edge. That would be one way to help get everything lined up. The other thing that I could do is when I put this at 6 1/8, my center point is going to be at 3 1/8 from the bottom left edge, 3 1/8 inch over. So you could come in with a pencil, 3 1/8, very light pencil line, depends on what you're using for your base paper. I could use a very light pencil line. I have a very light pencil line. What that's going to allow me to do is the point of my piece, I need to make sure I keep it so that it's going to touch the point here. And it's going to give me that spot to make sure my points of my chevrons have a place to go. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm using repo adhesive. It's going to just be easier if I need to move things around. And like I said, it's about 1/8 from the outside edges, at the outside edge and the bottom edge. Now what I want here is I want to find the middle. I recommend just putting a little bit of adhesive in the middle of your chevron. And just kind of putting in there, kind of guess, a little bit of a guess as to where it needs to go. At this point, we're just kind of guessing. By putting just a little bit in the middle, if I need to move things around, I can. You're going to have about 1/4 of an inch between, I think it's roughly 1/4 of an inch. I honestly didn't measure, I was eyeballing it. It looks like I have a little bit extra here. Yes, Diamond Link Chain is the BNC that I am using. It was part of secret box number 4 with the Good Times collection. So there. I'm just looking for, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it good enough. Once I like this separation, what I'll be able to do is just lift my flaps and put down that adhesive. The jumbo adhesive, I do not have it yet. Ordering was just yesterday, and things definitely do not get to me that quickly in Phoenix. Tessa's probably going to get it before I do. I think I might get it Thursday or Friday. I'll be honest with you guys, I've never used that type of applicator. I have used adhesive gun applicators, I guess, as part of framing photos. When I would put adhesive on the back, or I put the backing paper on the backside of the frames when I did photography. So I'm familiar with just the handheld type thing, but I've never used it for scrap. Okay, so there we go. That looks good. I'm gonna go ahead, put my border on my edge here, on the right edge. I'm going to center my border kind of between a little more than 1 inch. The center of my border is a little bit past 1/2 inch. Or it's centered on 1/2 inch, I guess that's what I should say. It really just depends on what size you're using. So I'll have room to put in my border there, or my photos here. I'm going to go ahead and put my second piece together here. Second page, move my photos out of the way. Having the pencil line definitely works. So I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to come over 3 1/8 inch away from the right side of my page. My cutting mat is on here a little skewed, or it's twisted, but make sure you're 3 1/8 inch to the opposite side. And I'll come in and clean that pencil line up. Again, I'm coming just on the middle of my chevron, putting that in the middle, just a little bit of adhesive on there, basically hold it in place. And then I'll come back with these other ones and make sure I like where everything's positioned first. It's not far enough down. I can tell that already. This one needs to come down a little bit more. And yep, just doing that eyeball. Yep, looks good enough. Lift the flaps and put some adhesive on. Already down. I'm going to put the border on the same way. So it's got that center of the border is about a 1/2 inch in from the outside edge. That spacing will vary depending on where your what size your border is. But basically you want to have just a little bit of space from the outside edge. I don't want the edge of my border touching the outside edge of my paper. All right, so now it's time to go ahead and cut some mats. Now I know I want to bring in some um, pieces here, and my mats are all going to be 4.5 inches wide, or, because my photos have a 4.5 inch wide piece or 4 inch piece. So I'm going to cut um, two sections. I'm going to double check. As long as this is 9 wide, I can get 2 out of it. Yeah, this is 9 wide, so I can come and get 2.5 or 2, excuse me, I can get 2 of them. So I'm gonna come over here to 4.5 wide. And I'm gonna turn this to 6.5 and cut it 6.5. And the reason why I like the 6.5 and the 4.5, because here I can do my 4x6 and here I can do my 5x4. So I'll cut this again at 4.5. Rotate and cut it 6.5. Set my trimmer aside because I wasn't really planning to use this kind of nice pumpkin-y dark orange color for all of my layouts. I really thought I would bring in some more of the dark brown, but let's see how things look. Maybe I will go ahead and use another piece of it. I bought the Leave Nothing Behind was on sale and I really liked it. And so I bought several packs of it because I figured I would use it for this. Um, and also this living in the Southwest. We will have a bunch of Southwest trips that we take, and the Leave Nothing Behind is truly beautiful for the Southwest. So that's kind of how things are going. Oh, let me get these photos. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and go with the cut one more. I need 2 more 4.5 by 5.5 inch mats. So I have another piece here. I will go ahead and cut it to 4.5 wide. And this one I will cut at 5.5. Two of the mats at 5.5. A little bit left over. So I think that is pretty much where I'm going to be right now. I do have, as I mentioned before, I have these journal boxes. So sort of, I think I cut apart. I think I cut apart a mat. Yeah, this is from the Leave Nothing Behind mats, and I cut apart one of the mats. And I could come in here and tuck in it like this if I wanted to. If I wanted to do any journaling, I could do something along those lines, which might be kind of nice to do. Um, in terms of putting any kind of a title or anything on here, I'm not so sure. Um, I could probably come in and just with even creative memories like the white letters and just put like condors. Um, and then over here, just bighorn sheep, or I don't know, bighorn sheep is a lot of letters. Or even down here, I could come in with or handwrite it on a piece of the sticker, the write on sticker strips. So that's kind of where things are going here. You will have some leftover chevrons. You might find a way to utilize these in your in your layout. Otherwise, just toss them into your stuff. You never know. You can also cut them up into triangles if you want to use them for some photo corners or things like that. But I'll get everything adhered on here after class and get a photo taken for you guys. Probably once I figure out what I'm going to do for a little bit of title, or if I'm going to do any journaling or anything like that. The other option I could do is like over here, I could definitely trim my paper here and come in with the letters underneath on the paper. So it would have like a bigger section here at the bottom if I wanted to put some stickers there or more lettering or anything like that. Oh, did the paper, Gail saying the paper pack did go out of stock. Yeah, it's been around for a little while now, so I'm not too surprised. It was marked down pretty like to $6 or something like that during the December deal sale. So I think I bought like 3 or 4 packs of it because I really like it. And yeah, they could come out with card stocks in all this color, and I'd be a super happy camper, that's for sure. All right, so that's what I've got for you guys tonight. Um, Tessa, did you have any update you needed to show them from your layout? Did you work on anything?
I will
Yeah.
post it tomorrow.
Okay. So do we have February's date yet?
How about the 11th?
Sure. Sounds great.
I guess I should look at my calendar. I think that February is fine.
Yeah, so we'll probably get together again February 11th, same time and place. For those of you, we think we may have found one of the little hiccups in getting our emails to you. So we are going to be trying a little bit of a thing when we send out the recording. We will send it out and hopefully it will reach more of your inboxes. We did have a few of you messaging us saying that things were ending up in your spam box and so forth. Just kind of as an FYI on that, if certain email providers, Yahoo, Hotmail, SBC, Comcast, some of those have they can have pretty tight spam filters on them. And even though we know we're not spam, they don't know we're not spam. And so they may be blocking it. They may be tossing it in spam. They may not let you see it at all. The challenge we run into is we think we get something fixed and then they change their algorithms or they change their thing. So it's a constant battle where one time it'll get to you and the next month it may not. Gmail seems to be the one that works the best, that we have the fewest problems with it getting to your inbox. So if you are consistently not seeing our emails come to you, you might consider getting a Gmail that you just use that Gmail to subscribe to our stuff. And it will hopefully end up a little bit more accurately in your inbox so that you can see the things there. So yes, I mean, Pat saying it moved it over, it was in spam. And I will tell you guys, I have stuff that'll come to my inbox and then all of a sudden Gmail has moved it to spam. I have no idea why. Or they move it to my promotions tab or they move it to updates. It's really no rhyme or reason sometimes. And Gmail's not perfect, but we do seem to see a higher success rate with people that use Gmail. Most people that are messaging us and saying that they're having problems getting our email have something like a Yahoo, a Comcast, an SBC Global, iCloud, or whatever Apple uses. So things to consider there, but we are going to do what we can at our end, but our hands are tied to a certain extent. I mean, we're dealing with big multi-million, billion-dollar conglomerations, and sometimes they
Irony
just don't love
is,
us.
I have SB Global, which is Yahoo, and it is horrible at letting junk through, like real junk. So I'm like, why are we getting labeled as junk? Like our content's legit. Like at least
I
we don't
mean,
have to
it's
spell all the
legit.
words.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, some people
I
think it's legit.
it's very legit. It's very legit. So we will be meeting with you guys next month. We have Tessa's got Simply Scrappy tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I
She's
thought, why
nodding her
not?
head.
Why not do it on a retreat week?
Why not? So that's going to be tomorrow. I've got Scrapbook Live coming up on Friday. We're in the middle of winter frolic. It is scrapbooking season. We've got stuff, layouts flying around all over the place, messes being made, and pages being created. It's a lot of fun. So we will definitely plan to see you guys next month for sure. Hopefully you're able to join us on our live events that we do. We do not know in terms of what's coming for page makers. Tess and I have to get together and kind of figure out what collections are coming up that we want to do that. and so forth. I do see Kristen asking me, what are the shelves? These ones right there. Those are the tidy. It's a stamp and storage tidy box thing for the calyx. You have to get the one that goes in the calyx, and they hold the 5x7 photo boxes that Creative Memories used to have, which you can get similar items at the craft stores. And I keep things like 4x6 peekaboo pockets, foam squares, certain embellishment packs, things like that in there. It's quite handy. So that's what I've got back there. That I should share that on the winter fall. That's my scrapbooking tip, or my organizational tip for all of you. All right, we're gonna get this email sent out to you guys. We'll finish our layouts. We'll share with them tomorrow. Please share your layouts. Use the hashtag January 2025 PH if you share them into the Ideas and Inspiration group. And Tessa will have a drawing at some point with winners, and Happy Mail will be sent out. What'd you say?
Tomorrow.
Oh, I thought you said March. I'm like, apparently we're going down to the quarterly system.
Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like
Sometimes when you think life is going to just slow down for you a little bit, it doesn't.
it will never. It will never.
It never does. By the time we get our kids slowed down, there's going to be older kids producing grandchildren.
I surely hope not. Please no. Please.
You need a gap, a little more of a gap. Okay, everybody take care. We will see you all soon. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your week.